Okay guys, so welcome back to the Putter Studio. We're continuing on our little series over here this week. So one of the big things that I think you guys will have noticed for the 2019 season, and we've talked about it with stability shafts in the past, and is going to be many players now starting to use a shaft that no longer looks like just a steel shaft.
It's become very noticeable watching PGA Tour golf in the last 3 weeks, I would say, 3-4 weeks.
Multi-material has really started to integrate its way into the hands of the players, the best players in the world, which is a really interesting thing. I think it's one thing persuading the average golfer who'll kind of give anything a try.
True. I'll try that kind of thing.
I'll try anything and improve. But giving it to these guys and, you know, convincing them that there's technical benefits to that.
Especially with putting, difficult. Right? Like putting is, I don't know, it's so feel and almost like superstition based for some players. Like they've got very particular preferences that may not even really help them. They just, I need to putt that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to compare today, Matty, two of the main options out there in the marketplace. So one in Stroke Lab comes in the Odyssey micro hinge, the new micro hinge putter.
Yeah.
The stability by Breakthrough Technology is an additional option should you wish to stabilize your putter for the benefits that we've mentioned in previous videos. Yes. And we won't go over too much of that and take up another video with that. That's been done.
We have a full review of this, which we'll link below.
Exactly.
This is a shaft you can put on any putter, basically.
You can install that in
few
any
exceptions.
Putter. That's exactly
so that's that product. Now, Stroke Lab's come out. We saw it at the show.
Yeah.
We've already gotten plenty of questions, literally asking for this video.
Right.
I think a lot of people had the perception that they do the same thing.
The same thing.
It looks kind of like, you know, this is graphite-ish.
You've got the steel sort of tip. You've got the graphite, so you've got it up in the top end.
You can see it, the weave, and so I think that's where the questions began. And I had the same first impression. I thought maybe it was the same technology. So most of the point of that video will be, let's talk about what these do.
Yeah.
We'll do some testing and see what kind of effect they have, because we basically have two as close as we could identical putters, same head shape and everything like that, and then we can assess what the technology does to the stroke.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting at this point, Matty, that they're not the same. They are, you know, different. The biggest difference the biggest noticeable difference is the actual weight of the putter shafts.
Okay.
So here you've got a 125 gram shaft, which is about what a normal putter shaft weighs.
Right.
Here you've got a 75 gram putter shaft.
Well, that's it.
Right. So you can see when you look at the two.
It's very narrow.
Yeah, very narrow. Much less material being used.
Right.
You know, here you've obviously got sort of zero taper in the graphite section, again reduced to designed to reduce twist, designed to be more stable. I think we've mentioned this in other videos, Matty, that shaft diameter is one sort of design philosophy that companies will use to make a shaft more stable, more stiff.
You've mentioned that many times when talking about soft and hard stepping, and also butt trimming versus tip trimming. So
and even you know, the butt diameter of a shaft, like if you want to take like a Dynamp Gold X7, you know, it has a larger butt diameter than a standard, you know, S300, and that's another, as well as the material content and the rigidity of that, it's another way they can stiffen that section of the shaft up.
Right. So in a nutshell, this is designed to be as stiff as possible, extremely low torque, the lowest, one degree, and help with off-center hits and twisting of the head, basically. Okay.
Correct.
So
exactly.
That being said, this is light.
Yes.
What is this supposed to do?
It's obviously distribution of weight, isn't it? So it's heavy part, lighter part. So you know, the balance point is obviously in a different place. So we're going to see strokes. It's no different from, why do we give someone a high balance point driver shaft?
Like a counterbalance shaft.
Yeah, to influence the delivery in a certain way in order to create a certain impact outcome.
Yep.
Putting is exactly the same. So we've got the heaviest part down here, a lighter part here. That might work for some people, but it might not work for others.
So it's going to be an option for someone.
It's going to be an option
that may work for them based on their stroke.
Exactly.
So what is the difference between, and I know you just got these in.
Yeah.
Based on what you've read, what is the difference between going this route, light shaft, versus going with a regular shaft, but inserting like an aftermarket tour lock weight?
It's where do we want to control the speed? Tour lock would be, do we want to control the speed of the handle? Are we getting a little twitchy? Like for me, it's 75 grams, and I know the weight distribution of steel versus graphite. This is heavy, and that's not.
So we've got weight closer to the putter head.
Much closer to that section.
And tour lock would have weight further away from the putter
exactly.
head.
So that 50, 80, whatever gram weight inside the butt section is going to sit directly under the handle in order to create a feel or create a sort of performance benefit of a less handsy stroke.
Interesting.
Try to give you a little bit more weight in order to kind of calm the hands down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so I mean that's what I would see is the major difference, and this has the same distribution but in a less dramatic fashion, because this is an overall heavier weight.
Yeah,
this is 125.
Yeah.
This is 75. So the result of that is we're about to see. We're going to see exactly what that does.
But two very different products.
They're not to be considered the same. These two, this is not a substitute for that.
Gotcha.
They're not designed the same way.
They'll fit a different person, essentially.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, they were not designed with the same result in mind.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. So why don't we start with a few baselines
let's start with
this
one.
Guy?
Yep. All right. So ping up first. So just to let you guys know, we have picked the same head shape.
Exactly, like plumber's neck.
Answer
2
style,
kind of thing.
Yeah. We've got it at 35 inches, which is what you play at.
Yep.
We've got the loft and lie the same. We have, the only difference is the micro hinge insert versus the ping face, which is the TR technology.
So we may see some differences in the forward roll, but that's not really what we're looking to assess anyway.
Yeah.
And we've really got almost the same style of kind of standard pistol grip on there as well.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Better, I think. I mean, it certainly went in, but felt like I didn't get the faces shut there.
Okay. What's your sort of sensation when you putt with stability?
So I guess we installed it in June or July.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting
I've pretty much played half a season with it. I'm so used to it now. I guess I will almost notice more of a difference when I go back to a normal putter when we're putting around. But my biggest takeaway initially was I felt like my long putts, I was hitting the center of the face a lot more often.
Much more.
And that may be the fact that it just stabilizes the off center more, but it's definitely a kind of a, I think it achieves what it's looking to do for sure.
Okay, I won't tell you much about that putt,
yeah, don't tell
but
me
it was
about
very good.
Okay. So let's get another one.
Yeah, I will do 3 with each. Very nice.
Hit it harder.
You'll like that one. Awfully good.
Okay, I won't look.
Different type of stroke, that one.
That was a stinky stroke a little bit. I kind of pulled it inside, I think.
It was a little more inside. Yeah, it definitely was. Okay.
Do you want to keep that one?
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously went in. It just wasn't weird. I just felt like I did that.
Yeah. Definitely came a little more in the inside. Fine. A little different. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Awfully good.
So we'll prep the stroke lab.
Nothing too much different on this one. Just the only difference really being that face technology, Matty, the micro hinge.
Right. Okay.
Lovely stroke.
Good.
How'd you hit that putt?
I thought it was really good. Felt solid anyway.
Nice. Oh.
Power lip out.
Oh. Sack the greenkeeper. Raised cups. You were good with micro hinge technology last year. I believe that was with
Yeah,
52,
you recommend
wasn't
it.
Yeah, it's still good for you.
Is it still, yeah?
Yes.
Because you had said that I think my main weakness was not putting enough forward roll. And then as soon as I was using this, it was just good.
You got more.
So the problem is they just don't make a head shape that I like. That's really all it
You
is.
don't like you don't like the number 2?
I'm not a plumber's neck guy.
No.
If they had a, what's that called, a slant? Mid-slant?
Yeah.
That I like.
Stroking them.
That's good too. These micro hinges look different.
This is a very new
Looks
face.
like less
Yeah, brought the
extreme.
white hot face back and kind of a slightly different micro hinge. The old one,
Literally, you could see it.
there was lots of edges, and there was some people had some different thoughts about the edges catching the dimples and
Yeah,
whether
you thought that happened a couple times too, didn't you?
Okay. Come and have a little look at this. So interesting. Now, make of it what you will.
Yeah.
We're trying to use something of a sample size, but if we had 100 putts, they'd be better than 3 aside.
For sure.
But the face angle delivered 3 times on the stability putter was elite, was blue.
Okay.
0.8, 0.19, 0.28. These are about as perfect gets.
So the face was very square to the line.
Check out this, right? Putt number 2. Push-pull ratio, 100% you would make. Putt number 3, 100% you would make.
Wow.
Right? Same as the
Those
last
were quite good.
So those are perfect. 100%.
That's all 3 of them.
That's
Really?
all 3. 100% of the time.
That's wild.
Okay. Let's go to putt number 5. Ball data.
9-footer.
About 10 feet it would be good, and after that we'd probably miss it a little bit. This was really good again. Obviously we're going to make this 100% of the time. And then the last one we'd probably make it again about 13, 14 feet.
Really?
13 feet. Right.
Interesting.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Rate of rotation. 29 degrees, 28 degrees, 27 degrees with the stability, 35, 30, 35 with stroke lab.
So a little more rotation when we went to stroke lab.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite interesting.
Quite interesting. When we're looking at things on Quintic, a lot of the time, Matty, we are looking at ranges in things like impact ratio, which is smash factor for putting.
Okay.
Right? So if your impact ratio is 1.7, right? So a driver might be 1.45, like we talk about in quad. The reason that is significantly higher on putting is we have less loft, so we're going to create more energy, and we don't compress the golf ball as much.
Okay.
So we're going to leave the face slightly faster.
Gotcha.
Right? We're not looking for a certain impact ratio. We're not looking for it to be super high or super low. We just want it to be consistent.
So you know what your so your distance control is consistent.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we saw things like with this, like you guys will have heard me say in the past, face angle is holy grail. Everything else is secondary. Even launch and spin are secondary by far. Face angle is primary. The thing you had going there was that putter was awesome for you with that micro hinge face on launch and spin. Almost perfect. I would pretty much say that was perfect. If I went over to summary and looked at your launch angle, went kind of 148, 148.9.
So 1.5-ish.
Right. So 1.5-ish average. You were a bit low with the ping, just a bit below there.
Yeah.
Your impact ratio was a bit slower with the ping face versus the insert face.
Okay.
So what I'm kind of looking at is this face is better, but I would fit you to the stability shaft.
So the
in order to stabilize
shaft's
those.
influence on, I guess, my stroke was quite good, but then impact was made better by this face insert.
Was very, very good.
And the launch angle, is that the hinges, they're supposed to kind of lift the ball and roll it? Is that what that's
exactly
what's happening?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's cool to see it actually make a quantifiable difference like that.
So very interesting for me to see that the exact same exact same length, style of head. There was a slight subtle difference in the distance between the hosel and the toe.
But we're talking about putters that are almost exactly the same.
Almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so similar.
So the summary for me, in all honesty, would be exactly what I thought it would, what I would hope it would be. Because this is a reasonable investment. This comes for free.
True. This is you spend an extra couple $100 bucks.
$250 for the stability shaft, and if it's going to stabilize the face, if it's going to stabilize off-center strikes, your twist was less with that shaft than it was with that.
So let me ask you this then. There isn't any aspect of this that's designed to reduce twisting that you know of?
No.
So if they, because this is where it gets a bit complicated, right?
Yeah.
There may be a person that benefits from the low balance point of this. Is that fair to say?
For sure.
If they could make a version that had that, but also somehow had the super low torque.
Which is basically what that is,
That's
because
what that
with
is.
the high modulus graphite in the back end, 8 layers of that with the steel tip, it has the same sort of weight distribution. It's still more here and less there as it is there. There's just more overall mass.
Okay. It just weighs more total.
That's it.
Interesting.
So I would be trying to kind of help people with the message of this is good and fine, and if it helps you feel the weight of the head through the lower balance point, fine.
Right.
But I would say in terms of the technology that's going on, this would have more noticeable technology if you tend to vary a little bit on strike, a little bit,
which most people do.
But look at those results.
Yeah.
So look at those that we had there. You had 3 putts with this that were 100% make from, that's reading it up to 20 feet.
Yeah.
You have 1 of 3 that has the same reading that, and then you have 2 of those putts that you will not make after 11 and 13 feet, I think it was.
Yeah.
That's
significant.
Something in that.
And that's funny because when you look at the history of putter technology, it's always been head and face stuff. Always.
Yeah, always.
So
until now. And obviously before that, some people will say, well, frequency filtered by UST. I think I've said this on the channel before, I used to use X7 wedge shafts.
Yeah, as a
stiffer, heavier option, because I like that for the feel. I know people have used C-taper. I know people who have used proper iron shafts that are stiffer.
Right.
So
to accomplish the same kind of thing.
To accomplish the same thing. You look at Bryson DeChambeau, uses the Matrix putter shaft. I've used those in the past personally. I really like those.
Acra makes one too, right?
Acra makes one as well, yep. They make a 1, 2, 3, and 400 series. So it's starting to become a thing, to become a technology, something that would be a variable if you're someone who tends to get some variance on strike and face angle and rate of rotation. You might want to add that in to kind of make the whole thing much more stable.
Yeah. Who do you think this suits then, based on what you're seeing? Is there a player that you think gets better? I understand the face is obviously performing really well. Is there a player that benefits from the fact that this is light? Because that's the main thing. It's light, isn't it? It's just lighter than this, but it still balances low.
We will see.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. I mean, that's the thing with it. It's so new. I mean, ours have been in the shop a couple of weeks, and we've handed it a few times to customers, and it's not until we really start to kind of see months and months worth of data, like we always say, like when we put shafts up in the wall, we're not experts until we've done an extensive amount of testing with it.
Yeah.
We understand what's going on. We may develop some philosophies as to what that may achieve. This is the test ground as to whether that's going to kind of play out.
Very cool.
Interesting, though.
It was interesting. Well, it's cool because I didn't know anything about this shaft whatsoever, and obviously having used this for the year, I've got a little more baseline with it. But interesting to see a mainstream company put a technology offering essentially included with your putter.
Yeah, right? which I like, and I think we will probably see other companies follow suit.
Think so? Yeah.
I think so. I think
it makes sense. Why wouldn't you?
We've seen some data on it. We've seen some testing that's been done. We've seen human testing. We've seen some robot testing that's been done with it. It's not nothing. It's not snake oil. I mean, I hear people call stability and these sorts of things, snake oil. It's not.
No, I don't think it is.
Absolutely
Even with my personal experience, I think I could look at my scorecards and tell you my putting was better late last year once I had this in there, and I didn't practice my putting all that much.
Right.
So, and there's times, the couple times I've sent you pictures, they're not big stars, but I've said, so-and-so is using that on the Euro Tour. Like, they're starting to pop up a bit.
They will do.
This is not the company that Odyssey is, though. So people are going to see, they're going to see this on TV.
Yeah. I mean, they have 30 putters around a tour bag on the tour every week now where players can come and try this. Breakthrough technology will be out certain weeks on tour, trying to use the relationships. It's kind of how the whole...
different, right?
So that's like how it works with trying new products. It's all about relationships and trust and, working with certain players who may have more influence and that sort of thing. And you try and just, gradually build that. But I think once some players get a hold of this stuff and do some testing for themselves, and we're dealing with the best players in the world, so the variance on strike and these things is less.
Right. But they have technically they have less to gain than someone who does strike a putt here and here and here and here.
They have less to gain.
For sure. Like tour players are fine tuning it and maybe saving a putt every few rounds. But someone who's a 25 handicap, like this is going to have a lot more help for them.
That's why tour players can use blades.
Yep.
And average players have to use cavity bags.
Exactly.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, you're right. It's the shaft equivalent of that, isn't it?
Yep.
Very cool.
All right.
Okay.
Guys, an introduction, let's call it that,
to
what these two different technologies do. More sort of to come in terms of I want to really dive into this guy and
in an
test
individual
it
video.
More. Yeah. I want to give it its own scene because I think so many people are going to be curious as to who it's good for and what it does.
Yeah, the comments have shown that for sure.
Yeah.
People are very curious.
Okay.
All
right, guys, let us know. Let us know as usual. Let us know what you think about the both technologies. Do you think that the stability, is that overpriced for an additional add-on to a putter? For me, it would be crazy to think that in that 249. The amount of people who would resist 249 in a driver shaft, I can tell you, is about that.
Yeah, it's relatively, as a shaft investment, it's not that. It's technically in the lower end of an aftermarket shaft. Isn't
exactly where it would be.
Yeah.
Yet we're going to hit that more than, at times, close to 3 times as many times as a driver.
Yeah, you would. Because people are putting 35 times minimum.
35. You might hit
worse.
You might hit 10 to 14 drives around.
At most, yeah.
That sort of thing. So in terms of the value that you could get with it, this type of thing has got to have huge value.
So true.
Could you come into a scenario like this, see that you have a 66% better opportunity to make a putt at 20 feet?
Yeah.
Could you walk away knowing how serious you are about your game?
No,
could
definitely,
you walk away
definitely not. No. And I would pull, if I was budgeting, I would pull budget away from something else and put it towards
allocate it towards
because
that.
it just makes sense. It's in terms of where do you get your enjoyment out of the game? But when you're presented with data that's going to say, listen, this $240 is better spent than getting a wedge with your name stamped on it or something.
Yeah.
It is hard to argue with.
I know. No, it's good to see. I'm really pleased that this part of the market is getting some attention.
It is.
And the manufacturers are starting to put some R&D dollars into putting and in making miss hits more manageable and perform better than ever before.
Yeah,
so.
and using a different method instead of just making the heads bigger and such.
That's exactly.
All right.
Excellent. Good. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Let us know your comments and we'll see you again soon.